Hi, this book review is for a book that came out quite some time ago. In fact, no, this came out February 22nd. I was thinking of a different book that I am going to review in a minute. This came out only on February 22nd, so forgive me for that, for mixing up the two books. That's going to happen. Now, this book review is for The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. Now, I have read other books by her, and if my Goodreads will allow me to go back, I can tell you about The Paris Apartment and the previous book that I read by her. I'm going to hit see more. Give me a second. The Paris Apartment. What book did I read by her last year? And I'm going to have to move my glasses. Oh, The Guest List. I read The Guest List by Lucy Foley about a year ago, and it was really good. She has written other books, but the only book that I ever read by her was The Guest List. So when I saw this cover, and you'll see the cover on the screen now, the cover appealed to me. I know this is not important, but if you saw, I think, Survive the Night by Riley Sager from last year, in his book from this year, it kind of uses the same font. So when I saw that font, that's kind of what made me look closer at the book. I know I'm talking about frivolous things, but let's talk about the book itself. Okay, another thing I want to tell you about this book. This book came out February 22nd, but by the time I got to it, since it had already been released, I went to Audible and got it. I'm so glad I did, because I got to tell you something. It's a 12-hour and 25-minute audiobook. But listen to this. These are the narrators, and I say narrator, plural. Claire Corbett, Daphne Kuma, Julia Winwood, Sophie DeCiro, Sophia Daci, and Charlie Anson. So that is 6 narrators. Now, I'm going to likely give this book 4 stars, and I'll tell you why. In as much as I love full audio cast narration when I use Audible or Scribd or Hulu or Overdrive, the only thing that I didn't like about this book is, let's say Jess was talking. Then if the book is coming from her point of view, then that narrator played Jess's part. But if Jess started talking to her brother Ben in the same scene, the same narrator did Ben's voice as well. So I don't like that. And I know it's probably the thing that's done. You know, you have POVs. Like in this book, you have 6 different points of view. So they had 6 different narrators. But like I said, if in the same scene, 2 characters spoke or 3 characters, the one narrator would play all the voices. And I will say that the narrators did a great job. Don't get me wrong, they did. And it made the book that much more interesting. But I don't know what production is like for audiobooks. Why, if you have 6 narrators and 6 POVs, why the person that did Jess could have done Jess and the person that did Ben could have did Ben. But that's just my little nitpicky thingy. Okay, so beyond that, let's read the summary, because I don't always read the summary, but we're going to do that for this one. Now, from the New York Times bestselling author of The Guest List comes a new locked room mystery. That's the trope, locked room mystery. Set in a Paris apartment building in which every resident has something to hide. Jess needs a fresh start. She's broken alone, and she's just left her job under less than ideal circumstances. Her half-brother Ben didn't sound thrilled when she asked if she could come crash with him for a bit, but he didn't say no. And surely everything will look better from Paris. Only when she shows up to find a very nice apartment, could Ben really have afforded this? He's not there. The longer Ben stays missing, the more Jess starts to dig into her brother's situation and the more questions she has. Ben's neighbors are a neglected bunch and not particularly friendly. Jess may have come to Paris to escape her past, but it's starting to look like Ben's future is what is in question. Now, these are some of your points of view. The socialite, the nice guy. the alcoholic, the girl on the verge, the concierge. Everybody's a neighbor, everybody's a suspect, and everyone knows something they're not telling. So it was quite worth it to read that summary, wasn't it? So this book came off, with rather a slow start for me. But what kind of kept me riveted was the multiple people that were narrating it, because as I started to sink into the different voices of the different narrators, it made the story come that much more alive. And then, when you think of a locker room mystery, like say, and then there were none, or I don't know, I should think of other books because I've read other books with a similar premise. You have an apartment building where everybody knows everybody's business and everybody has something to hide. But what you also have is something like underneath the surface of everything that flavors everything that happens. You get that? So while you have on the outset all of these characters, like the summary said, the concierge, the nice guy, the socialite, the alcoholic, and so forth, you have an underlying story that's hidden underneath everything. Now, what's the plot? You have something that happened to Jess's brother, Ben. Where is Ben? He says she could come stay with him. He's living in this luxurious Paris apartment that she knows he's a reporter. He can't afford that apartment. So where is he? So there's your plot. Now, then you learn a little bit about the tragedy that Jess and Ben experienced when they lost their mother. So that's kind of triggering. It's handled well, but it could be a trigger because the way the mother overdosed. Okay, so that could be a little triggering. And then we find out what happened to them when they split up. When Ben and Jess stopped living together because of the loss of their mother. Then we have this family that took Ben in. And I'll tell you about the family without giving you a spoiler. It's a husband and a wife, 2 sons and a daughter. Okay? The sons, who are grown men, are jealous of the attention that their father gives to Ben. So that's another layer to a very well-developed story. And then we find out more about Jess. While Ben lived the life of luxury, Jess didn't get as lucky as Ben is. And now that she's experienced some issues with her job, if she couldn't go stay with Ben, she would be homeless. But no matter what, Jess loves Ben. He's all she has for family, and she wants to know what happened to him. Now, I think if I didn't have a problem with the single narrator, like individual narrators doing multiple voices in the same scene, I probably could have gave this book 5 stars. But we're going to go with 4 stars because I did choose to listen to it as a narration. Ironically, with over 6,000 reviews on Goodreads and 43,000 plus ratings, it only gets an average of 3.73. So I think, my rating is probably pretty much on point. Another reason that this gets a 4 is it had a very slow start. Did you ever see Rear Window? I think it was Jimmy Stewart, where I think he's got a broken leg, and he's just sitting there in the window and he's watching everything happening. So you got a character like that in this book. And that's why I say everybody knows everybody's business, but then everybody also has something to hide. So there's a lot to speak good about this book. I do think that you might enjoy it more if you listen to it like on your library app or your Scribd or your Audible app versus reading it, because it came off to such a slow start with everybody being nosy. But And like I said, there was that trigger about the Jess and Ben's mother, how she had overdosed. Those scenes were a little sensitive, but I think Lucy Foley did pretty good. And I will say this, at the end of the book, when she talks about it, like gives her acknowledgments, she says she started the book when she was very, very, very pregnant, and she finished the book while trying to take care of a newborn. So I have to give her accolades for keeping her writing up. And now it makes me want to read her next book. So that is The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. So we'll call that it. And I'm going to edit these 2 videos. I do have another book review video, but I'll do that later. I'm just going to get these babies up. But I want to thank you for watching. Bye-bye.